Hello and welcome back to our kindergarten through 8th grade general music PLC. I'm Ariel Robbins, our PLC lead for the year. This topic is about classroom management, and this segment is about creating a positive classroom environment. In this segment, we're going to talk about creating behavior management systems for your classroom. We're going to talk about a positive feedback ratio that you can employ in your classroom. And we're also going to talk about what music rewards you might want to use in your classroom to incentivize students for that good behavior. So let's talk about behavior systems. My suggestion would be to do something that is fairly simple. And as we talked about in our last segment, this is because of the duration and frequency of your class. For K through 5 elementary general music teachers, many of us only see our students once a week. And in my building, we only see them for 45 minutes. So I have to have a system that is effective and yet simple enough that it doesn't take a ton of explaining and reminding week to week to week how it works, because it's been a whole week since they've been to my classroom and they're having to deal with behavior management systems across the building in other teachers' classrooms as well. This is also true if you see your kids for several weeks at a time and then not again for the year, because that means that throughout the year they're experiencing different behavior management systems. And also if you see your students several days in a row and not again for several weeks. So the same principle applies. Keep it simple and yet effective. The other piece of that is the duration piece. So our classes are 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 55 minutes. We want to maximize the instructional time during that class time and not have to spend too much time reviewing procedures and reviewing the behavior management incentives. We want something that's simple that the students can remind themselves of right away as they come in. So here's my system that I use. As you can see, I've got my music rules clearly laid out. I've seen it where other teachers have it on a poster at the front of the room. You want something posted in your room as a quick visual reminder to the students, even some things sometimes that you can point to non-verbally. If they're maybe talking too much, I'll point to make good choices. And that'll be a kind of non-verbal reminder to them that, oh, we're talking too much. We need to start making better choices. So as you can see, my music rules start with the first letter of music. That makes it easier for me to remember, and it makes it kind of catchy for the students. And then above that, I have the music letters, MUSIC. Throughout a class period, students have to earn all 5 letters. So as I greet my students in the hall, I might say, I'm looking for students to come in quietly and take their seat crisscross. And if everyone can do that, or if most of us can do that, I will give us our first letter. And then that letter will go above the line. And then throughout class, I will give them additional letters every time I catch them following directions. I use this a lot during transitions and preempting what could cause disruptions. So for example, a classic time that I use this is when we're passing out instruments. We talked about it in segment 1 about what procedure you have to maximize that time and make it as most efficient as possible. But no matter what you do, there's going to be a couple moments of downtime. And the kids are going to want to start playing their instruments, and that can make it kind of hectic when you're trying to give out instructions. So before we even get to the point where students are getting up out of their seat to get the instruments, I'll hold up the next letter. These letters are magneted to my board, so I can just kind of pull them off and up and all around. So I'll pull the next letter that they have yet to earn, and I'll hold it up and say, we need to earn this letter. Let's earn this letter by doing XYZ. So let's earn this letter by getting out instruments without playing them, or let's learn this letter by lining up without talking. So I anticipate what behavior might be coming and explain what behavior I'm looking for instead. Then at the end of class, if they earn all 5 letters, you can see these music notes over here, these single 8th notes, and each 8th note has their teacher's name on it. So if they earn all 5 letters in a class period, then their note goes up. And when it gets to the top line, then they get their music reward, which we're going to talk about in a moment. So as you can see over here, Ms. Tasotano's class is on the top line. So the next time they come to music, they will get their music reward. And it's not a competition. between the classes. I don't ever phrase it that way. It's not that Miss Tositano's gets the reward because they got there first, and so therefore Miss Connor's class and Miss Marinosa's class are not going to get it, because that disincentivizes the other classes from continuing to try to get that reward. So it's kind of like on a rolling basis of which classes get the reward and when. I also, for my own sanity, have it color coded, where red is kindergarten, orange is first grade, etc. So this is a simple system, and it's consistent. To reinforce it, it's consistent with a system that my art teacher and PE teacher also use. So my PE teacher has a football going down the field, and my art teacher has a paintbrush going up the art palette. And as a team, we kind of decided to have a similar system to reinforce each other's classrooms, again, because we only get to see them once a week, or in the PE teacher's case, twice a week. And so by having a consistent thing from each classroom, the kids know what to expect. But that's not necessarily necessary. It can still be successful even if it's not happening in your other specials classes. I also have these posters in my room as a quick visual of what we are working for as our rewards, and what happens if we don't follow those directions. So this is on an individual basis and a whole group basis. And I should say, for the music letters and the music notes, that's a whole group system. If there's one student or two students who are being disruptive, but the rest of class is really trying to do their best, I'll kind of ignore or isolate those behaviors, which we'll talk about in segment 3, and I will still give the whole class those letters for effort. So on the board, I have these posters as well. So an individual exhibiting good behavior will get a marvelous musician certificate, which I'm about to show you, and they'll get a care ticket, which is our school's version of our PBIS reward, and they collect them throughout the building. When the whole class earns that note, their music note to the top line, in my class, the reward is a game day. And I will also give a care ticket to everyone in the class, not just one individual, for as a group helping to earn that reward. On the flip side, the consequences are a warning, a logical consequence. For example, if they are banging on the instrument too loud and I've given them a warning, which I really like to call a reminder, and then they continue to exhibit that behavior, I will have a logical consequence of, let's take 5 minutes away from the instrument. And then as a third step is a note home. So it's a very clear delineation of an escalation of consequences, and I don't get to a note home until the first 2 steps have happened. As a whole group, if we're having, let's say the most common behavior I see as a whole group is talking. Maybe they had a very exciting lesson coming right before they get to my classroom, and they're just very excited and chatty. I will remind the whole class and give the whole class a reminder or a warning. And then as a whole class, we'll do a logical consequence. So maybe we take a break from playing instruments or take a break from that movement activity, go to something else that's maybe a little bit more calming, and then we can come back to it. And then as a whole group, the consequence, if we get to that step where we've tried the first 2 and we're still having the issue, then they don't move their note up for the day, meaning they don't get all 5 letters for the day. And that does happen. I should say I never move the letters down, and I never move the notes down, because by earning them in the past, they've done something to earn that. So I don't want to take away what they've already done to earn the letters or to earn the note going up. Instead, I'll just say, I cannot give you this letter right now, or I cannot give us all 5 letters today, and I cannot move our note up. So I'll never go down. I only ever go up as a reward for doing something good. So let's talk about that individual reward. Each class, I talk about finding someone who is following directions and participating and engaging in conversation, engaging in the classroom discussion. And I always try to pick one person, maybe 2 or 3, to be our marvelous musician for the week. And as you can see, I just have a basket of these certificates, and I hand out 1 or 2 at the end of every single class. And if I forget, the kids are always really good at reminding me. Kind of going back to what I talked about with the similar systems in art and PE, my art and PE teacher have also adopted this. So the Awesome Artist Award gets handed out at the end of art class, and the Fantastic Falcon, because we are the Findlay Oaks Falcons in my building, they get that award at the end of PE. So the school culture has been that this is a really big deal. The kids bring it home, they show their parents, the parents get all excited for them because they only have the opportunity to earn it one, maybe two times in the year. Again, it doesn't have to be something that you share across the specials team. It can be successful on its own, but when you do share it across the team, it kind of just reinforces itself. I always try to find someone who maybe would not be expected to be the most marvelous musician, to be that marvelous musician, even if they weren't perfect that day. If there's someone who needs that extra encouragement, I can say, I can really tell that you were trying today, and I'll give them that marvelous musician reward. On my attendance sheet, I just put a little M next to their name to keep track of who has and has not gotten it. I generally have about 25 to 30 people in my class at a time for the year, and I'll probably see them more times than that because in my building I see them once a week. So that's enough time for everyone to earn it at least once. Those superstars might have the opportunity to earn it twice. I might forget once or twice to give it to them, but everyone has the opportunity to try to earn it at least once. So that's how I manage the behavior management system as a whole group. But I also want to talk about how I give feedback to students. So when we're giving corrective feedback to students, we want to keep it as affirmative and possible as possible. So that looks like this. I'll say, Sally, thank you for sitting crisscross. Johnny, I love the way you're listening. Betty, can you please sit crisscross also? So two things are happening here. One, I'm starting with positively giving attention to students who are doing the right thing. And then when I do address a behavior of someone who is not following directions, I always state it in the affirmative. So instead of don't stand up or stop talking or no playing, I'll say, please sit down. Voice is off. Instruments quiet. So I'm not castigating them for doing the wrong thing. I'm reminding them of what the correct thing is. This is a really small and subtle change that I started making, but I've noticed it has helped a lot, and it's helped it become a really respectful and positive environment rather than me always kind of like coming down on my students. And I think they've noticed that too. So then let's talk about what those rewards look like when you do want to positively reinforce what's happening, the good behaviors in your classroom. Some teachers like to do a treasure box. I personally do a game day, and most of the time when they've earned that reward, my game day is either them kind of doing what my lesson plan was always going to do anyway for that week. It just includes a game, or I will keep a track of all the games I've taught in previous lessons and bring those back out as kind of a review so that I'm not losing instructional time in the year. I'm also lucky that I've got the administrator support so that if they come in and see that we're kind of doing something kind of chaotic and crazy and gamey, that there's a purpose to it and that it's a behavioral positive reinforcement, but I'm still doing music instruction. That's how I handle behavior rewards in my class. I would love to hear what you're doing in your classes and what kind of management systems you're doing. So this has been Classroom Management Whole Group Positive Learning Environment.